Welcome back, Scene Heads. We're for another episode of Scene and Her podcast. I'm your host, Sharon with two R's, and I'm joined with Rosalie, and you're listening to Scene and Her podcast. Welcome back, and I hope everybody is staying cool, trying to stay cool. I'm drinking some Kool-Aid. Got fans on me. And I wanted to actually open up with this ceremony. I just got an email about a ceremony. It'll be free, and for anybody that wants to join tomorrow, I'll post the link in the description. And it is a prayer ceremony for peace. Ty reminded us that we cannot kill each other and expect peace. The roots of violence lie not only in the world out there, but also in our own hearts, in fear, discrimination, and forgetfulness. So prayer for ceremony for peace. It'll be like early. I don't know what everybody's different time zones, but it'll be a Zoom link, and I'll just post it in the description box. Let's see. Can you see that? And that is from Deer Park Monastery, Buddhist monastery. So I just wanted to open up with that, with like positive, happy news. So before I open up with this, which is kind of an oxymoron, but we have to talk about it, and we'll talk on the other side.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that? I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. All I do is play both sides. I'm going now, as you know, to NATO. Some of you are going with me, and I think it's going to be successful. We'll see. I'll let you know. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay? Yeah, they violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
This video. Apologies for the F-bomb, but he is the one that did drop the F-bomb. But so as everyone knows, that happened yesterday, and he showed up to NATO to embarrass us on the world stage as usual in his, typical fashion. And then there's like some kind of Stockholm syndrome or something where the NATO Secretary, Mark Rutte, which I'm not playing that video, calls him daddy. He calls him daddy. And then I saw another Michigan representative right before we got on here And he was saying, which I'm not going to play that video either, but he was saying that we should consider calling him daddy because he's like some kind of father figure, an abusive father. No, I'm not calling any of them anything. I'm not bowing down to any of them. But at the end of that clip of the Michigan representative that said we all should be calling him daddy, somebody in the audience said, "You don't want to know what daddy means in my community."
You know, we don't kink shame here on this podcast. You know, however, why do we have to make it America's problem? You know what I mean? That's why are we okay. Anyway,
That's
if you
never going to
want to be
happen.
domed, then just say that. That's all I say. Anyway.
Laughing to keep from crying, but I'm back on, on
As
this.
far as back on the topic,
Mhm.
the in all fairness, I think we covered this the last time we spoke, and I've been talking to friends about this who've been asking. By everything that I've seen, Trump doesn't want to. I don't think he wants to go to war with Iran. I really genuinely deep down believe in my heart of hearts that he knows that the stuff he wants to do here at home cannot be done if he's also trying to do the things in Iran in the way that is being done currently, right? But we have an economic interest in making sure we support what Israel's doing. We are in bed so deep with them. And as you're pulling up here, they've got something we want. And so regardless of whether he wants to do it a certain kind of way or not, I think Donald Trump wants to strong arm Iran into giving us the minerals. You know what I'm saying? But I don't necessarily think that he wants to go into a full-blown war with them necessarily. But the Netanyahu, the whole incestual kind of situation that they've got going on in Washington tells me that, you know, I very firmly, and this is a gut feeling, this is an opinion, this isn't a fact that I'm stating. But I'm almost positive that golden beeper was a threat. It was not a sign of friendship. It was a reminder, just a reminder of what's possible if they don't support them. And I really think that this is just another play. Like either way, the U.S. stands to benefit from. You even said in the he even said in the video, you know me, I'm always playing both sides. He literally said that in the video, which is what he does. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's what he does.
Because all he's thinking at the top of his head is, how is this going to benefit me?
Right. He's for sale to the highest bidder and always has been. It's what he and who he is as a person. He doesn't pay his debts and he's always for sale. And that's who he is as a person. And if we can, I guess, look at it from that perspective, that's why he's going to publicly say the things that he's going to say about Israel, to say he's doing a tough, hard line on them. And then he'll do an about face a couple days later. And, like I think one of the reasons why he was so frustrated, and we talked about, frustrated and wants this to end, is because the nuclear sites, and I can share my piece of things if you want.
Yes.
I can pull up the article.
Okay. But yeah, so for everyone seeing this before she pulls this up, I wanted to start the timeline as to, if you still had questions of why this started. This is because, I'll have the link in the description so you can read the article. Iran found precious minerals that our military all need. Okay, the precious mineral is called antimony. They found 7,000 tons of antimony, which is extremely rare mineral. So when they found that, then we have the Army commissioning tech bros. In the tech bros, okay, that comes next. They're commissioned tech execs as officer recruits. Okay, what do the tech bros need? They're Silicon Valley. So precious metal, tech bros, and then Israel attacks Iran.
Because of nuclear capabilities. And then we find out that these bunker busters that they sent in there didn't actually do the damage that they claimed it did. because he wanted to seem like total victory, when the reality is that like there wasn't much to damage, and so therefore, you know what I'm saying, they didn't destroy anything.
They already prepared. They
Right.
do.
And later reports continue coming out saying that they didn't actually have the things that they are being accused of having. This is Iraq 2.0, and anyone who wants to pretend that it's not is just fooling themselves or wasn't around when that was happening. They're trying to fool Gen Z into believing what they sort of were able to fool millennials into believing the last time they did this.
And Gen X. I'm Gen X because I was in the smack dab in the middle of that news, hearing weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
You know, like,
I mean, Gen X was kind of the millennials were coming of age during that time. Gen X was the driver of that moment for sure. Boomers and Gen X drove that moment forward, and are continuing to do that. Like, I mean, I know my parents are Gen X, and they're definitely have been warmongering most of my life, in one way or another. It's very the turn it into a parking lot, turn it into a golf course kind of rhetoric about the Middle East my whole life growing up. I didn't meet the first Muslim person that I ever interacted with until I got to college. And I was in like grad school, I think, the first time I actually spoke to a Muslim person in person. And or maybe the second person I had spoken to ever, and actually like but had a real conversation with them. That's the life we were raised in, and they're trying to get Gen Z to like, and they have fooled some of them, right? Because you've seen that some of the men in Gen Z are becoming, or the boys and men in Gen Z are becoming more conservative than their female counterparts there, and it's happening specifically because they want to do a reload. They just haven't gotten their fill. They're running out of the money that they pumped out of the Middle East before, and now they need a refresh. It's not going to go the way that they think it's going to
no,
go.
it absolutely is not. And
be the hill that American empire dies on. This is going to be the
are
hill.
you going to share an article? Because I got a video of a response.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry.
Well, after you share that, then I'm gonna play this guy's video of his response to America. You know, to all this. You know, trying to sell America and try to pressure us and guilt us into accepting this, which, like you said, is not going to go the way they're expecting it to go. Absolutely not.
All right. So it's a CNN article. You know, take it with a grain of salt there, but this is not the only place it's being reported. It was just one of the first ones that kind of came up with, and it did kind of fit the scope of it. It lined up with the other things I was hearing from other sources. I would not have made CNN my first source for anybody who is going out and doing these searches. Like, if CNN is confirming it, the only reason I'm sharing it here is because if a major Western news outlet that tends to be more of a propaganda machine is also reporting something that goes against what America's interests are, and it lines up with other sources, and I can trust it. That's how you.
Yeah, I think I even saw Reuters. Is that how you pronounce it? Reuters.
Yeah. So it says the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities did not destroy the core components of their nuclear program and would only set it back by months. And in all fairness, this is, again, it's just a manufactured situation. They cannot hide it the way that they were able to hide it when it came to 2000 and 2001, 2002. The invasions that they planned. We didn't have social media back then. We didn't have all of these ways to communicate with each other in lightning speed. Instant messaging, text messaging was like still kind of a new thing when this was happening. Literally. Yeah. You had to pay per text message.
Right. Oh my God.
So there was no internet on phones. You couldn't just access information like that.
We had to pay for a separate hotspot.
Right. It was very, very, technology was not what it is today. And so our ability to monitor it is just so different. They're not going to be able to pull a wool over our eyes. They're not going to be able to do it. Boomer strategy is not going to work in 2025.
I am thinking about those pay plans, those bills, those 30 cents a call.
My parents are like, why are your friends texting you? I keep getting these 10-cent charges. And I was like, I'm not texting them back. I don't know. What am I supposed to say?
That was funny. Y'all share your stories too in the chat. So
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
gonna go ahead and play this video. We talk on the other side. That was a great flashback though. Yeah. Memory unlocked.
Yeah.
The only way to combat Project 2025 is to let it run its course. It is as counterproductive as that sounds. We have to let these people run this nation to the ground. And then we have to show that example to the world and to the nation why it's not going to work. But we have to let them fail, crash, and burn, even if they take the nation down with them. But in the meantime, I highly suggest, I'm doing this myself, but everyone else, document. Think of your own ideas, ways to combat the issues that this nation truly has. And don't think that your ideas should go unnoticed. Write them down. Talk about these ideas in your communities. We can make this world better, but it takes a community. It takes all 300 million people in the United States to work together to actually fix these problems. Stay safe.
The power vacuum is being created right now. And is this a segue into the New York City mayoral race? Because I feel like
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Congratulations to everybody in New York.
That's the message here, is that the people are already receptive, even in an environment drenched in establishment Democrat rhetoric. Yeah, it still shows that even through all of that, one of the biggest cities on the planet was still a democratic socialist came through. Somebody who's actually going to try and help regular people, or at least give it a good go. He's one man, right? He can't change the whole city of New York, but the vibe is shifting. The evolution is coming, with or without the concession of the Republican or Democrat Party as they currently are.
Now, explain a little bit more about him, because I've been watching that race, but I still did not know that much about him. All I knew was I was tuning out anything about Cuomo. So
he is a pro-Palestine Muslim candidate. He did grassroots organizing all the way through, door knocking. Didn't raise from any major, big, PAC donors. It was all small donations. In fact, at one point in the race, they had him with a ridiculously wide margin between Cuomo winning by a landslide, because of the amount of money that Cuomo was able to generate. And when they did their grassroots organizing and did their door-to-door campaigns, they were able to come from behind and bridge that gap pretty significantly, running up to the race itself. And then I think what New York City has shown in the last few months has absolutely shown that the majority of New York City is not the billionaires who inhabit it, despite the fact that they are the ones who control and have had a foothold in New York City the way that they have for so long. The establishment has got to go. People are done, and the people are speaking. Now, on a presidential level, on these federal levels, it's a lot harder for the people's voice to be heard. But when you get the biggest city, one of the biggest cities in the country and on the planet, to put a man in power who is pro-Palestine, anti-Zionist,
right,
Muslim, in New York City, it's healing. It's healing. That's what I'm seeing. And I know that that's the thing that kind of brings me hope for him winning this primary, is that the Democratic Party, the people of the party, are moving left, whether the party wants them to or not.
So we see here on the BBC, and that's what I was learning this morning about, the details, because like I was saying, like everything else that was going on. So I'm glad that you were able to keep up with this while I was watching the shenanigans in NATO. So we have here, left-wing Democrat stuns former governor in New York mayor primary. So I will have this in the description, but I think that New York deserves a round of applause. Look, miserable face there. But I think New York deserves a round of applause. So we're going to give New York a round of applause.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you commented on it in the article or not while I was taking care of little one, but the amount of the increase in the voter turnout in each of these little districts that were voting in the primary was insane. Brooklyn, like these areas, like 200% more, 300% more, like 150% more voter turnout. That's crazy. In this
Because
heat,
we're tired.
in this heat, yeah, they're like, we've been out in the streets anyway. We're definitely gonna go vote. So New York City mobilized. They came together. They showed the people. They showed what the people really want. That's the
That's
best.
awesome. Yay!
Them, yeah, absolutely. Good for them. Good for them for at least it's a primary, right? And I think when we see what we've been seeing with Adams and all, it's time to
Oh my God. I can't,
take
I
out.
never liked him.
It's time to take out the trash.
Wait, where has he been? He's been awfully quiet. Where has he been? Speaking of Adams, maybe we shouldn't.
He's been under investigation for things. Is he even allowed to run for mayor again because of the? Didn't he get he had some charges against him, didn't he?
A bunch of charges. Yeah, I never liked him, but yeah, he
bribery, wire fraud, conspiracy. There may be a rule in New York. There's a rule for doing mortgages that if you have even charges of fraud and that kind of thing, or if you get convicted of any of those things, you can't hold a license to do mortgages.
Well, I mean,
so you could be the president.
That's what I was about to say. We know about rules and everything like that, but
charged with bribery, yeah. So it may be that he's recognized that probably doesn't need to be running for another. He's not going to win if you know what I mean. It's a non-starter. So they tried with Cuomo to see what would happen, and we were like.
Now, when he first started running, I was just like, when I was like following and studying up on his background and all, I was like, he's running as a Democrat, and then I was just saying to myself, he sounds like a Republican. He acts like a Republican, but he's running as a Democrat. And at that time, there were a lot of Democrats or supposed Democrats that were running, and they would win their seats. And then as soon as they won their seats, they would come out and say, "Oh, I'm a Republican." Like, I'm going to go to the Republican Party. So they were infiltrating the Democratic Party, and then turning around and becoming, Republican. Like Fetterman, he might as well just take the mask off and just say, "I'm just a Republican now." And speaking of Republican, let's play this clip and then talk on the other side. This is Mr. Tucker Carlson. He has some words to say.
Have you noticed that like a huge percentage of war-crazed Republican senators are secretly gay? What is that? Are they? Yeah. Like, what is the ones who are secret about it? I don't really know if you want people with like truly unsettled, dark personal lives with power. Do you? No.
Madison Cawthorn, where are you? He spilled some secrets.
Carlson is being
right when he spilled their little grinders. Well, okay, actually, some of the workers at the Republican convention, the male workers there, they were leaking out that Grindr had crashed during the Republican convention. And then Madison Cawthorn got booted out because he had leaky lips, and he was talking about spilling secrets about the Republicans' cocaine and orgy party.
And you know what? Marjorie Taylor Greene coming out recently with that whatever post about against Trump for the stuff that he was doing, and she's like, "This is a total bait and switch. We didn't want regime change and another war. Blah 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 blah. You told us you weren't going to do that." And I was like, "Oh, MTG is not going to get reelected. She's not going to get reelected." And you know what? That's fine by me.
If she's made enough money, she's already bought stocks and made money.
She's going to take itself out. I am certainly not going to stop it.
Right. That case. But On the other hand, they have caused generations worth of damage. These people have caused generations worth of damage, and I am just beside myself on that. This I'm gonna play this Palantir because Palantir is like, well, they're not the only one. Palantir, what was it? And Maersk, that was yesterday news about Maersk. They're not delivering to Izzy anymore.
What does that have to do with Palantir, though?
So they're all connected, though, aren't they? Palantir and the BlackRock.
I mean,
And
Maersk is the largest shipping, you know,
mm,
one of the largest
are they
shipping companies in the world. So I'm sure BlackRock has stock in them. BlackRock has stock in me, I'm pretty sure.
Our data. They have our data.
I own my house through a lender. You know what I'm saying? So like, at this point, I think BlackRock has stock in us all. But yes, but yeah, I just wanted to see if there was a part of the story where you're trying to connect the dots.
I was going to play this video here because, well, I don't know because I can't remember how long it is. I'm just going to play this one right here and then save that Palantir with Stephen Miller and Palantir where we're talking about the data and stuff. It's kind of long. Let me see here. Oh, it's not even, I think I deleted it. Okay, so I'm just going to go with the Mercer.
So I don't usually report news, but I read something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Maersk, aka the biggest shipping company in the world, responsible for over $55 billion in annual revenue, just stopped servicing the port of Haifa in Israel. It's not just some like reroute, it's an economic earthquake. Experts are estimating $200 to $400 million in losses per day. No bombs, no missiles, no warships, just one company saying, I'm out. And suddenly everything stalls. Trade, supplies, manufacturing, everything. It's not just business, it's like corporate decision making as foreign policy. It's an effective blockade and divestment. You might be like, oh, that's kind of dramatic. No, this has happened before. In Guatemala, the United Fruit Company, once the government of Guatemala like threatened their profits, they overthrew the government. Yeah, and collapsed their economy. They even triggered a coup. So, one company, one decision, massive consequences. Maersk doesn't just move boxes. They just told the world, we really run global trade, and you guys are going to see what happens when you mess with our bottom line. A little bit of change of scenery because I'm cooking curry and I got to keep an eye on the pot. But that means insurance prices insurance premiums, they're going to spike. Everyday retail items, the price of those items, they're going to spike. Everything for manufacturers, all of that delayed massively. Could be months until they get any supplies. That's how significant one decision can bring a country to its knees. I really need to get that across because I'm like, one company can bring an entire country to its knees.
Mind you, one company should not have all that power, but in this case, this is very welcome in this case.
It's definitely out of self-interest. It is not because they care. I don't think it's necessarily because they care about the Palestinians necessarily. I think there's pressure for that reason, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that between Iran and Yemen, Maersk is like, all right, we're done here now. We're not going to keep putting all of our cargo and our people and our ships at risk for y'all's nonsense. You clearly can't stop poking the bear. We're not doing this anymore. So we're just not going to come to you anymore. You know what I mean? And that part of me, it's one of those, like, they can also see the forest for the trees, and it will be good business to be the first one that did this and shut it down. And effectively, Iran didn't need to close, and Iran played this perfectly. They said, we don't have to bomb the United States to make this stop necessarily. Like, you know, not that that's not on the table still, should we continue poking that bear. But there are many ways to fight war. It's like a Chinese proverb or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that's the best way to win a war is to never have to fight one. You know what I mean?
China's doing that.
Right.
They're not firing a shot.
Exactly. You don't have to fire a shot to win a war. And that's very much, I think, what Iran's strategy is also playing out as is we're going to threaten this strait to effectively put a blockade on it, and the threat itself will be enough. And it was. It was enough. They didn't actually have to they didn't have to do any damage to any real people to get the job done, minus the United States is like, we're going to press buttons first and ask questions later.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. Like you had said before, you know, things are collapsing. They're doing generations worth of damage. I don't think there's any way that the US empire was going to collapse that was going to be graceful. It just was I don't think it was ever in the cards. We didn't have to do this, but I think this was always coming.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
It's not destiny. It could have been prevented. It was all preventable. But this is the most American way for the American empire to collapse. That's what I'll say. It's the most American way for the American empire to collapse.
And speaking of collapsing, this last story is heartbreaking. It is relative to women's autonomy.
Oh, okay.
Adriana Smith, rest in peace. Finally, rest in peace. And I'm sending meta to her family because they're going to need it with the laws that are going on. But was it the Georgia Republican woman? I can't even remember her name. I got a brain fart. But she was
representative from Georgia, yeah.
Yeah. So she was allowed to have autonomy over her body and be able to call the governor for her help. But Adriana's body was abused by the state, and they extracted a fetus from her corpse. That's the way that needs to be framed because she was not alive. So I'm going to play this video and we'll talk about on the other end.
This is deceased mother of two, Adriana Smith, who went into her local emergency room because she had a headache that she could not get rid of, and was sent back home only the following day to be diagnosed with a brain aneurysm, which led to a brain bleed and her death. She is survived by two children, her son that she previously had, and the baby that she was made to carry while kept alive on life support due to Georgia's one heartbeat rule. At the time of her death, she was less than the amount of months that previously you were allowed to get a legal abortion. This is Kat Kamak, 37-year-old Republican Congresswoman from Florida. She was diagnosed as having an ectopic pregnancy. People at the facility were afraid to provide her with the medication that would invoke an actual abortion due to Florida's non-abortion laws. She has not given birth. She is no longer pregnant. Because what did she do? She went up the food chain to the governor for the governor to okay her having an abortion. She's alive and well. Healthcare providers in Georgia allowed Miss Adriana Smith to be kept alive on life support after being brain dead and forced her unborn child to suffer until they felt as if they were at a point where the child could survive without any of the natural things that occurred in a woman's body with the child being attached to them. They ran a medical experiment on Miss Adriana Smith in order to make a point. with under the guise of that they're following the law. She's gone. Kat Carmack is still alive. Even though her pregnancy was only life-threatening to her. Only life-threatening to her. In the case of Miss Adriana Smith, both of them would have died had she not been kept on life support. Miss Carmack here wasn't made to experience any of that in order to preserve the child, because her life was more important. The fucking hypocrisy. But I just wanted to make sure that y'all could see this, that people recognize this, that people heard about this. This is what so-called anti-abortion laws really are. It's another way to have some sense of control. Nothing more, nothing less. And control over the bodies of others. And when there's privilege involved, the rules are never going to be enforced the same.
And then to close up. We'll never forget a story my mother told me when I was a teenager. Her hometown was Birmingham, Alabama. So she was around when the young black girls were, the church that was blown up with the young black girls. Because her dad was a preacher, they were all like, in community with each other. So she went through all that. She said that a friend of hers went to made it to an all-white hospital. They were pregnant. They were like very pregnant, but they were having problems. It was a black woman. And the closest hospital was a white hospital. No one in that hospital would help her. And she laid on the floor and bled out. And she and the baby died because the white doctors and everybody walked around her. Like, that's just the medical racism. I'm suffering because of it. I mean, I have my own personal story, but yeah, United Healthcare refused to cover my prescription that my doctor wrote me for medical equipment that would help me with my quality of life. So I have to suffer every day.
There's so many things to say, but none of them would be good enough. That's how I feel about that. There's nothing. It's so horrific that you don't need to watch horror films.
Mm-hmm.
We are the horror film, stranger than fiction.
Bizarre world. Like Rod Serling, I wonder how he would write any kind of episodes with I mean, although in his time it was horrendous too, because the Twilight Zone came about from the Emmett Till lynching. Rod Serling started the Twilight Zone because of Emmett Till.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. I will go down that little rabbit hole.
Yep. So to this day, the black and white Twilight Zones are some of my favorites. Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That's definitely another thing that I'll get to learn about. Black history just influencing every single crevice, because we like to appropriate, not appreciate, and that's including the labor and the resources of the Black community, and then tossing them aside like garbage when they don't have the value in the system that we want them to have, whether that be because pregnancy is a disability, right?
But
it is. Pregnancy is a disability.
Well, they're criminalizing pregnancy.
Right. But they treat disabled people however they're going to treat disabled people and Black people, they're going to treat everyone else eventually. That Republican, if she was poor and white, it wouldn't be the same story. It wouldn't be the same story. So at the end of the day, there's still layers of privilege even with him being white. And if white people don't start to recognize that the definition of whiteness can change at any time. At one point, I have Irish and Italian ancestry. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm not white in the eyes of the government now, but at
The
one point,
construct of whiteness.
the white construct of whiteness didn't include either of those lines of ancestry for me. I wouldn't, if we go back 100 years, they would not have treated me like the white people, like your average British, German type individual that was coming over. They just wouldn't have. And so that it will ebb and flow, and it'll bend and weave whatever it needs to do, in the same way that Donald Trump will just bend and weave and ebb and flow, and Tucker Carlson will bend and weave and ebb and flow and do whatever it is they need to do to appropriate and bamboozle and extort people to stay at the top. Because the goal is to win, not to create peace and happiness for everybody. It's never been about that. So I guess for that reason, I'm glad to see it crumble a bit.
The core of it all is whiteness. Roland Martin wrote a book of Dying of Whiteness, and I don't have the book offhand, but I wrote an article on Substack that, if you guys would like to, I'm going to flip this around because we're running out of time. So if you guys are on Substack, go subscribe to my Substack, go subscribe to Rosie's Substack. Here is a article I wrote on Substack. So just, I'll have the link in the description. You guys can go check it out. Let me know what you think. Leave comment and share. And Rosie is also on Substack, so I have her link in the description as well. So with that, we will close out. I'll see, where did she go? So I guess I'll close out on my own.
Hey, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Little one needs my attention. It's time to go.
So we'll go ahead and close out on that. And thank you everybody for joining. Don't forget to like, subscribe, put your notification bells on, support us in any way you can. Donation links will be in the description, and we will let us know what you think. We have a voicemail as well, so we could play your voicemails on the next show. I have a lot of comments that I need to go through that I'm going to share on the next show too. Some of them aren't so nice, but we're going to give you the attention you deserve, everybody.
Right.
Bye.